Hi, everyone. This is Professor Broadham. As we process the tragic events of January 6th, it is worth noting that the attack on the Capitol prevented the U.S. government from holding a peaceful transition of power, which is one of the fundamental parts of a liberal democracy. It might also mean that we must seriously discuss American political institutions using the unflattering term fragility. As a geographer who teaches and works in what are known as fragile and conflict-affected countries, it has been all too easy to resort to a subconscious form of exceptionalism. These things happen elsewhere in faraway places. Other places are fragile and conflict-affected. That is no longer true, and we are forced to confront an uncomfortable truth that fragility and insurgency and even terrorism are homegrown. This is a fundamental departure from how Americans have seen and understood the world since the attacks that happened on September 11th, 2001, which gave us the misleading, if not downright false notion that terrorists can only be the other. The harsh reality of our time is that we have a serious problem of domestic terrorism, which was seen on camera 2 days ago and is unlikely to go away anytime soon. Suddenly, the United States cannot and should not be seen in a different light compared with countries facing their own threats of terrorism, such as the West African Republic of Mali, a country considered to be a quintessential fragile state and one where I have worked for the past 10 years. I think most Americans think they have an idea of who a terrorist is, and almost by definition, it is not supposed to look like them. This is just one of the reckonings we Americans must face following the crisis we experienced on Wednesday. As someone who has spent their adulthood, at least most of it, in the post 9/11 era, when terrorists meant members of Al-Qaeda or ISIS, I'm having my own reckoning about who and what a terrorist is because young people who I know personally in Mali are the candidates for joining insurgent groups that are affiliated with global terrorism networks. The 9/11 world is finished. It blinded the US government and much of its public to the clear and present threat of white nationalist terrorism, which we saw on display at the US Capitol. To quote a January 7th New York Times op-ed by Sayward Darby, establishment institutions have long treated the threat of right-wing violence as a fringe matter. The government has done it, all but defining terrorism as a crime that could only be perpetuated by people who weren't white. Law enforcement has done it, nourishing extremism in its own ranks. The press, she writes, has been complicit too. So as we move forward with institutions of government gravely injured by Wednesday's mob attack, Americans will be forced to confront the bitter reality that our politics might be just as fragile as countries that we have long seen as far away and beneath us. Thank you.